Welcome, everybody. I am Sara Donnelly. Welcome. I'm really glad to see you. I'm glad the room is full, and thank you. You've made it to the end of the two-day session. I'm one of the last panels you're looking at, so thank you. So the program is called Jazz Road, but I obviously have a really wonderful panel here, and I anticipate that there are a lot of artists in the room, perhaps some presenters as well, maybe some agents, and certainly this program is most germane for artists, but it addresses the whole ecology. So very happy that you're in here. I'm going to speak rapidly about Jazz Road because of this wonderful panel, and I want you to hear from them more than me. And I also want to give you time for questions. And you know that we have this great website I'm going to walk you through, and you can call me, and I will answer a lot of questions for you over the next few weeks. So well, I am the director of jazz at South Arts in Atlanta. And I live in DC. I've had a long history with grant making in jazz. And South Arts is a regional arts organization, and I'll tell you in a minute what that is. But let me get to the good stuff. My panel, to my left, I have Jaimie Branch. Jaimie is a trumpet player, band leader, vocalist, force of nature, and busy, and we're so excited. Her band Fly or Die has been on the top of many critics' lists for the past couple of years. She's a dynamo, working hard. She just got off a plane, and she's going to get back on one, so we're going to hear from her in a second. To her left, Lisa Giordano is based in New Orleans. She has a couple of hats. She came from Flynn Theater in Vermont as a presenter. She also is working with a really interesting group of artists, progressive artists out of New Orleans, trying to shake up the scene with some more experimental work there. She's very tied into Chicago also. And she is a booking agent working with Maurice Montoya and independently. So you'll hear from her in a second. To her left, Orrin Evans. I think you know him. Do I need a bio? I don't think so. Let's just keep going. And then to his left, we... Oh, he wants one. You want one? Okay, let me give him I'll give you a bio. All right. Orrin Evans, masterful pianist, band leader, such a strong communicator and passionate about what's happening in this scene. He was great last night. That is some of the most beautiful music I've heard all week. He played with Kevin Eubanks at Le Poisson Rouge, and he's in a number of bands, most recently, currently, The Bad Plus, but he's always involved in multiple projects, and he's going to talk a lot about his experience with Tar Baby and Captain Black Big Band and a lot of the galvanizing that he does for the music community. Is that good, Orrin?
That was great.
All right. And then to his left, Rory Trainor. I have recently met Rory. I'm really happy that he is a booking agent with Unlimited Myles on the scene. He came out of, well, most recently, the Alverno presenting series, which is in Milwaukee. So again, having people that have multiple hats so that they understand presenting and agent work and artists is key. And he has artist instincts at heart, and we're going to talk to him about what's happening at Unlimited Myles. So, we're already late, and I'm going to move this probably quickly, like about 5 minutes, to talk about Jazz Road. And don't panic, because there's so much information on the website, and I'll be able, as I said, to talk to you over time for the next deadlines if you're interested. This is the website. It's jazzroad.org. You also got some a flyer. And we recently have launched the first round of grants for Jazz Road tours. And I'm going to go to that right now. Let's see. Let me see if this scrolls down. Okay. Nice. Oh, this doesn't do that. not my laptop.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so Jazz Road, we talked about it last year. It's a large initiative. It's $5.5 million, the largest philanthropic effort dedicated to jazz, which is pretty important. And it is a national program. It's considered artist-centric. It is funded by Doris Duke Charitable Foundation, and if anyone is here from there, I'd like them to raise a hand. And then we also have significant funding by the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation, and I do believe that we have a couple of people in here. Can I have hands? Okay, there they are. Thank you guys so much for all of the support. The goal is absolutely to spread this music to many areas of this country besides the cities and clubs and presenters that you know about. We also want to support those that do exist, but we're interested in creating tours that combine presenters that are, mainstream with more alternative types of sites. We're also supporting commercial clubs directly, which is a new feature. And we are chiefly interested, as I said, in getting all the way across the country and definitely hitting more rural and under-resourced, more remote, isolated areas where there's a potential to build an audience. And artists have said that they want to go to these places, and so this program has been developed. The artist gets the money directly to create the tour. They're creating the tour in advance, and they're coming to us with a series of dates that they've lined up. We understand that these dates might not be fixed at the application time, but we want you to already have offer letters. And with those 6 dates in place, up to 6, we want you to quote the money that you want, which is realistic and equitable depending on the market that you are in. And when we understand that particular presenters, especially ones that are not experienced with jazz or are small or are in remote areas, they might not be able to make your fee. So we are going to cover the difference. That's what South Arts does. And you're able to create that for up to $15,000. I'm not going to say much more. The goals, we're taking support toward emerging and mid-career U.S. artists. This is for U.S. touring, U.S. artists. And the next deadline, I just want you to see that we have a great batch of grants. We just announced 31. And where's my arrow? Here we go. You see that we've got artists that are not well-known, Aquia Ulrich, Amy Bourmet, are not necessarily large profile yet. We've got bands that are really compelling that still don't have a lot of work in this country, Harriet Tubman. We've got a big concentration of bands that are led by women, and definitely a focus on regarding the Black tradition and continuum of this music, which means Black artists should be very supported for grants in this program, and I want to encourage a Black applicant pool. So please scroll through these. Since Jaimie's here, I just want you all to see what we're doing here. We've got a nice profile of each artist, and then letting this load. I hope it comes up. We go ahead and let you know where she's going for this tour, and we also, when you pop the bubbles, you get to see exactly where these venues are, but starting in March, we've got her going to Iowa City, all the way down to Little Rock, Memphis, Columbia, Knoxville, and let's just take a date. See? We get to let you know what the theater is, how to get there, how to contact, and we're going to be doing that every step of the way. So without more information from me, except to tell you what the deadlines are coming up, we're moving so swiftly and we're moving iteratively. We learn by phases. We're already seeing what needs to improve, and we are opening applications next week. So I'm busy. Next week, after these tours, only 7 of them have actually completed. So we've got a whole bunch of touring to do, and I want to learn from them. But we want to keep the momentum, and we want to give artists an opportunity to have schedules that really float and roll throughout these deadlines. So deadline, applications open next week. Go online. The application is due mid-April for tours that can begin in mid-August, going through August of 21, okay? And there will be other cycles to come. That's all I want to say. I've already gone way over. Jaimie. Obviously, I put you up there, and your work is so exciting. You have lots of tours going on, or one tour, a big one, and
a bunch of them, yeah.
I've given you a bunch of questions, but just focus on your scene is very DIY. You have an underground, scene and network that you've nurtured that exists that many presenters in this room might not know about or artists might not know about. I'd like you just to talk about your climate culture and the fact that some of these dates also are pinned to the likes of the Kennedy Center and Big Ears in Knoxville, et cetera, larger institutions. So tell me about that mix, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Sara. I kind of felt like that was two questions. One was kind of where I'm coming from, what my touring experience is. And it started here in the States. I'm 36. I started touring when I was like 17 or 18, or like punk rock bands and stuff like that, van tours. And later on, like in my 20s, starting my early 20s, I did improvised music tours in very much the same way, with a network of people through emails, with art spaces, with bars, with community centers, with all sorts of spaces where you basically come in and play for the door, and you break even, hopefully. I was reminiscing last night with Micaiah McCraven about making CDR tour records. If you go to Kinko's and you make the cover, if you get the cardstock and put it in real quick to the machine, they don't charge you for the cardstock. Woo. And yeah, that's a pro tip.
It's a bonus. Bonus.
But CDRs aren't even really a thing anymore. Sidebar though, I do believe in selling merch at my shows, and I make T-shirts and stuff like that for every gig, because I feel like it covers my mistakes on the road. Like dropping a passport in the cab at the 4 a.m. wake-up call and having to buy 4 one-way flights to Milano. Like from Berlin, not from the States. But, the night before we sold almost the same amount in merch as it cost for the tickets.
Nice.
That's a sidebar. The tour that I have coming up, the South Arts part is 5 dates of a 3-week tour, which is basically 21 dates. And again, it's a mix of things. But now, this is, 10, 15 years later, I'm playing kind of different places. We're starting at the Kennedy Center in D.C., which was them reaching out. Roulette, New York, I have a grant there. I think they call it a residency. So I'm doing a couple concerts at Roulette, so that has its own funding as well. And then I'm going to Cleveland and playing a place called the Bop Shop. Bop Stop, yeah. There's a Bop Shop also. Yeah, but the Bop Stop, that's a really beautiful foundation, and they're not going to be able to pay us a big amount of money, so we're going to have a smaller guarantee there, and then a back-end deal, which basically means if you pack the club, you get more money. And then we move on to the Wexner Center, which is another institution, before hitting the Hideout in Chicago, which is one of my favorite club venue bars ever. So it's a lot of different sort of things. I'm going to just skip ahead to the actual grant area. Yeah. We're going to Iowa City. We're going to play a place called The Mill, which is a restaurant bar with a very good PA. And then we're going to go to Columbia, Missouri, which is someplace I've never been before. And that's a co-production between a few different jazz organizations there. We're going to continue down to Little Rock, Arkansas, at a library. It's the Ron Robinson Theater. And again, this is a space that I've never been to Arkansas ever. I've been to a lot of places. And we're going to have a band of local musicians open up. So that's going to be a really nice thing, too, I think. we're popping over to St. Louis on our own. And then Memphis at Crosstown Arts is like, you know, an arts organization. The nice thing about Sara's grant is that the money that the club gives you, that they're going to match, isn't just the money they pay you, but if they give you hotel rooms, that's like counted into it, right? So like, if they give you $1,000, but they're gonna give you hotel rooms, that's $1,600 right there. So that's like kind of that's how we got our money up to get the maximum amount. Like, I asked for the full 15. And the way we did that was just like getting that money up there. And then we're gonna play the Big Ears Festival, and that's kind of like the big money deal for this grant, you know? So we only had really one super solid big gig working when we started writing the grant. But in my case, I was a little bit lucky that I was already working on a tour at that time.
This is good. We'll get back to you. Thank you. And she is actually a really impressive thing mapped out here. So the good thing about this grant is that it basically serves as a wallet. We want you to get the money mainly in advance. We want the artist to have control over it, to be able to use it toward any types of emergencies, to be able to pay your band on time, et cetera. So I'm going to go to Orrin, though. I want to talk about several layers of touring here. Orrin, I gave you a lot of questions. Do you want me to actually pick one, or do you want to just move?
I don't know which is safer. I don't. You pick one.
Well, you know, when I was thinking about Orrin being on this, I've listened to him for a long time, and I know that he works so hard and is such a force for artists that he works with. I can't even, you know, I won't even tell you more about that because he's just so good. I want to know, you've gone into the Bad Plus. You've gotten a lot of promo about the Bad Plus. So you've gone from working gigs with Tar Baby, Captain Black Big Band, a lot of stuff at Smoke, et cetera, and you've got some records out, but now all of a sudden your career jumps ahead into the Bad Plus, and there's an assumption perhaps that touring is in place, that your money might be good, and I just wanted to,
Feels like the Tonight Show, right, Kevin? You know, they start asking you those questions.
It feels like a night show. It's a night. It's late. It's been a long week. But, you know, if you, as candid as you want to be, I'm just interested in you addressing what the perceptions are and, again, using the lens of what it's like to tour in the U.S. Who tours? What's a good tour? What's working? Et cetera.
Yeah, that was a lot.
I know. Just pick some piece of it.
What I'm going to take the piece that you didn't actually throw out, which is probably why I'm here. I don't even know if you remember this, but when I'm going to go back to the emerging part of it, when I found out about this actual grant, I emailed Sara and I was like, hey, and she said, oh, this is for emerging artists. And I was like, well, I'm going to just leave that right there for all of you to think about. Because there's a lot of people in here in this room that have been in the business, me, my 22, or 25. There's other people with, and I'm just going to look, I'm not going to say no names, of other people that are in the room that have had a lengthy amount of time in the business, but then at that point, we're not emerging, but we still can benefit from that. And that was one of the questions you sent me. So I wonder, at what point are we not emerging? Because the reality is, I hope to always be emerging. I know, like 20 years ago, I wasn't thinking about doing a duo project with Kevin Eubanks. I know that 20 years ago, I wasn't thinking about having Tar Baby. I know that 20 years ago, I wasn't thinking about Captain Black, so Big Band. So at that point, is the point that I become emerging, the point that I think about those projects, or is the point that I become merging way back when I wasn't thinking about anything? And how do we incorporate those artists who have been around for a long time into a project like this? And what is emerging? So, and I don't have answers to that. And this is a question that I've known Sara a long time, and I appreciate her putting me here to ask that question, because what does that mean? And I don't have an answer. I don't really know, but I do know that projects are emerging. So when we come up with a new project, how do we get that project down to Birmingham? Or how do we get that project, like I'm looking at the list when you had it up there for Jaimie, those are venues and areas that need to be served by emerging artists just as well as the quote unquote non-emerging artists, or whatever. I don't even know that, you know what I meant.
No, it's good. And obviously I get the question all the time, what do you mean by emerging or mid-career or more established? And the guidelines actually, it's hard. We don't have a list of what makes you emerging or mid-career. We don't, we know that the artist that gets so much visibility, it's all relative, right? And as Orrin has said, my job has been to just show in one round who's on this list. We have a lot of more experimental work that never, it doesn't tour commercially to begin with. And then we have an artist like Sammy Figueroa, and we have Mary Halverson. Those artists are on there. You might say, well, she just got the MacArthur. Why is she on there? It's because she has a band that has never toured where she wants to go, and she's made a case in that application about why this grant is going to change this part of her life. And Sammy Figueroa, likewise, was in the Bronx, but now he's in Miami, and he's got a whole new thing going on, and he wanted to go to the Midwest. And so I'm not answering that question. The panel asks me, and I say, this is for you. You have to think about this. And the statement that I've made is that artists that are at such a high level, that are considered legends, that are considered celebrities, if there are jazz celebrities, they might be a Jazz at Lincoln Center. This grant might not be for them, because I'm not sure that they can make a case that there's a huge impact when their life has been pretty rich in the music to begin with, or recently. But to Orrin's point, I'm happy that I have a funder in the room, and I'm going back more to my funders, because there's this assumption that there are lesser-known emerging artists, and then there are artists that are highly successful and visible just because they're on a cover of Downbeat a couple times in a row. Or, they've been nominated for a Grammy, but they're still not touring. So I'm not going to be on my soapbox. Let's go. Thank you, Orrin. What else do you want to say, though? What else? I mean, you still got some time.
You said it all. We can go to the next one. Thank you.
Really? Okay, that's not good.
that was perfect. No, that is what that for me, it's about. The bottom line is the music, whether it's some young, it hasn't to be about age, but someone that everyone doesn't know or someone that everyone does know. The music needs to be served in certain areas that it isn't being presented in. And that's the beauty of this. And we need to figure out how to and it's every artist. There's tons of us. I can't even tell you the last time I toured the South. The South, which I would love to go down there, I don't know the last time I really toured the South, and that doesn't mean that I'm emerging. It just means I haven't gone there yet. Good friend of mine says, I was talking to him earlier, this ain't my first time nowhere. But at the same time, it may be my first time showing you and presenting the music to you in this area. And it's really important for those areas to be opened up for all of us, for everyone. I'm playing in Florida in February. And I can honestly say, in my whatever long career. This is my 3rd time playing in Florida. But I can tell you, I played in Germany, you know. I can go, you know, so it's really an underserved market, and I think it's underserved by not only emerging artists, it's underserved by all artists. We all need to find a way to figure out how to get down or over or wherever to these other markets. So hope that answers your question.
No, it's excellent. Thank you, Orrin. And we'll be able to, riff more on that. And I'll get back to the bad plus later, maybe.
Who?
So, Lisa, I am moving to you because you've been instrumental in, at least one of these projects. You have helped Harriet Tubman with Brandon Ross as the lead applicant. Really exciting work, and you've helped create this tour. And you are also working with a slew of really interesting artists to talk about. So, but you also work with Maurice Montoya, which is definitely like a different stratosphere, and working DIY versus working for a company that is really trying to push fees. How do you balance your personal instincts? Yeah, I'm getting to it, I know. All right, go ahead. Okay. Go ahead and say, why don't you just stay with Brandon Ross for a minute and then go ahead and talk about that when you have time.
Just about?
The tour. Like,
sure.
If you want to talk about how you routed that and what some of the challenges or successes have been for that. I'll move down to the venue so you can see them.
Sure. Well, the tour with Harriet Tubman is very self-serving because he's playing my own series in New Orleans. It's a band that I feel really passionate about. They are on Maurice's roster. It's not something that works a lot in the States, like Sara was saying. It's definitely more of a improvisational, experimental project. I think it's really important. The music that they're making is really important. So immediately that came to mind when this grant came out, and they actually have an idea that we have yet to bring to fruition about doing like an underground railroad tour. So that was kind of the impetus for some of this work. That's a much larger piece that I certainly am not the person to spearhead that, but perhaps I can connect them with the right people. It's always on my mind. They're super busy artists. They, like so many musicians, incredible musicians, they have their hands in so many different things as producers, as hired guns, and with Harriet Tubman. So I really had to do quite a bit of groundwork with Brandon, with Sara, to get this together. And it wasn't easy, just because of the way that the grant is structured. We had some initial confirmations that then shifted, and so it is like a fair amount of, you're basically routing a tour before you apply for the grant, which is not something that a lot of artists are used to. So, having the experience as a booking agent is really helpful. Sara's really helpful. I don't know what else you really want me to say about this tour in particular.
Well, maybe you could say that what we've printed is actually
not correct,
accurate. because since the application, one of these venues closed. Oh. And plus, we weren't necessarily wanting to.
Well, it didn't close.
Okay.
But it shifted its focus. Okay, nice. But we also, not necessarily want to. We have to see why there are 2 dates in Madison anyway. But, the panel really was into a lot of the writing that was in this application and why. And so if you just, if there's one piece of it that you want to, the part that she brings up about having to have these dates in line before you apply, all I can tell you is that we don't ask for a lot. We ask for an offer letter that is fairly flexible. And then once... the hardest part is that you have to establish a value of what this presenter or club or space is offering you. And sometimes, like, this is what I want to talk to you. I don't want to talk about this. When you're talking about back-end situations or,
the presenter has to put an estimated value on that. The artist has to put an estimated value on what they feel that they are worth at that date. The grant is making up the difference. So, but that's a challenge in advance, right? And we try to be open to the fact that these things are going to fluctuate, that personnel might fluctuate, dates fluctuate. But we really try to ask you to get it solid, because the whole point is that we want one band with one piece of personnel to gel on the road. And these are connected dates generally. I should have said that in the beginning. These are connected dates. It's not like one date a month, one date a quarter, then you go. No, they're connected dates. And in Jaimie's situation, where some of these dates are within a larger tour, or there might be dates within her dates that are not covered here, that's fine. We just want to look at the whole arc of the tour and support anywhere from 3 to 6 engagements that work. So I took up again, I took up your time, Lisa. I didn't want to do all that. We'll come back. I am keeping everyone on time so that we can really get to the questions in the room. So let me just see what. So Rory.
Yes.
Oh wait, I'm really early,
Yeah,
but
you're ahead of time.
I'm ahead of time.
Doing well.
All right. So well, Lisa, tell us more about what a headache this was.
Wait, sorry. What? Sorry, what?
What a headache some of this work has been like.
Why
like,
would we talk about that? Aren't we trying to encourage people to?
No, go for it. Go
No?
for it.
What a headache it's been?
I would love for you to encourage it, and I would love for you to be real positive. I'm just trying to break it down to how to prep for some of these
Sure.
issues. So-
Well, I'm sure a lot of people in this room know that booking emerging and mid-career jazz artists outside of major metropolises is a headache. Like, there's no way around that. We have I see some great presenters in the room, John and Dave, and people that are used to doing this. But in a lot of these cases, we're introducing these artists to these presenters with the added incentive that you can have this incredible band. I'm telling you they're incredible. You have to trust me, because they've never heard of them, at a subsidized price. And so that's kind of like opening the door to a lot of these presenters that are like, who's Harriet Tubman, who's Brandon Ross? Like, this sounds weird. And, so it definitely takes a lot of time. And I think I have a lot of empathy for artists, because I know in a lot of cases, a lot of my friends, their strength is playing their instrument and creating like beautiful sounds and colors and shapes, and it's not hounding Dave on the phone like every week to get the offer in. So
okay, well, I'm gonna.
That's
That's
the headache.
I know, but I want to explain that not all of the work is meant to be experimental, risky. Gosh, it's hard to get a market here, So this is open to every facet, genre, every way you can define this music. We're not telling anyone what jazz is. You come in and let the panel work on it. The point, as she said, subsidy. These grants are meant to help organizations that don't usually work with jazz spend their time building their audience and marketing, so that we can cover the fee more, and they don't have to worry about what's going to happen at the door. They don't have to worry about, even if it's a free concert, they want it to be free because they want people there, et cetera. And again, you're looking at the whole arc of what's happening between 3 and 6 dates. And I know that there's some other applicants in the room, and a couple of grantees too, so we might get to talk to you more a little bit too. All right, so Rory, Trainor. What do you think about this? Lisa's talking a lot about how artists have to do all this, but another clarification is that artists can be working with their booking agents and their managers to get this application in. I know that managers, we want to hear the voice of the artist in the application, but certainly managers are writing these applications, and that is fine. So, Rory, what would you like to say?
Not everybody's manager.
Wow. Okay. All right, Jaimie.
It's real.
No,
There's no managers.
No, you got to work that out. You got to work that. If you want to write the grant because you don't want your manager to, et cetera, that's on you.
Shared.
Yeah. I don't need to know really what's happening there. I just want to read the proposal.
Well, I think no. The point has to be made though that artists without managers can manage this grant. It's not like that big a deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it is a heavy duty lifting thing, but if you've booked gigs before, you can get a promise letter. It doesn't even have to be binding.
Right.
You know, so
Absolutely.
that's like the upside. You can plan a tour. If you don't get the grant, maybe it falls through. But like,
Yeah. No, thanks. And again, funders were paying attention to DIY artists that want to take this on. They want to control money. They've got their own scene. They know how to work it. They just want a buffer, to make it happen. But we also want to serve what this is all about too, as we can. The resources can only go but so far. But we understand that there are artists in this room that require a different type of network, venue, space, money, et cetera. And Rory, I'm letting you address that. To talk more about what it means, for instance, you are working with Ulysses Owens.
Yeah.
And I'm going to scan to that in a minute. I'd be happy to hear more about what you think is great about that grant and what, in your role, you feel that, the specific question is, how do these grants impact artists that have perhaps larger fees? And
Sure.
And go ahead, just say what you
Well,
need to say.
I guess we're defining Ulysses as a mid-career artist. The project that we applied for the grant for, I wouldn't consider. This is like the thing. So it's Generation Y, which is Ulysses' newest project. It's him with 4 previous students of his at Juilliard who are now creating their own careers. So he's bringing them up and he's bringing them into the market and introducing them to new communities. And I would say that Ulysses doesn't necessarily have a name that's going to go right into any community and sell tickets right away. But then we have the advantage of all new artists that we're going to try and introduce into new communities. So much like any DIY artist, like I'm doing the do-it-yourself part with Ulysses, like find new dates, different relationships that each of us have brought this tour together. And Orrin kind of opened up some thoughts for me, because I don't think in jazz there's any, there's a few names that are quote unquote ticket takers, like where you just put out the availability and people call you. But like legends, NEA Jazz Masters, they're still hard sells. There's still communities that don't have the audience or the infrastructure, and we have to do the work to build those audiences in those communities, allow not just the artists to succeed and to eat while they're on the road, but also let those venues have that breathing room to take a little bit of a risk in bringing in those artists that, and not only that, but like help them build trust with their audiences by bringing in artists who are doing meaningful work that they can introduce to those communities.
Right.
Otherwise, I think the ecosystem shrinks.
Yeah.
If they can't take those risks. And
yeah, definitely. And, we have work to do with defining further how presenters do benefit from this grant. It's specifically artist-centric because we heard from enough artists that, again, want to operate this way. And we want the artists to get the grant directly. That doesn't happen often. And we've tried to make it so that, we're allowing you to spend it toward this tour the way you need to. And however, the point is, how do we build an audience for jazz? And we are trying to spread it across the country. And we need presenters to participate and build audiences and work with artists in advance to understand what they can do to optimize the engagement. And they need to produce visibility for the show. So we're trying to cover the door or the fee so that they can do all that. And also, however, I do think that we kind of put the cart before the horse a little bit, just because the field is not well organized with lists of presenters that are located in Oklahoma that are interested in jazz. And I should have said from the start, this is definitely an oversight, we're working a national program because South Arts is a regional, quickly, RAOs, regional arts organizations, are nonprofit organizations with a variety of programs and services representing clusters of states. So you have New England, Mid-America, West Staff, et cetera. You can figure that out. And they partner with state arts agencies and the National Endowment for the Arts to create these various programs. So regionals, I'm doing what I can in the South to try to understand what these dynamics are and how can I identify artists that are living in these states and presenters, et cetera. But the other regionals need to be doing the same thing. And so website also still very much under development, but you saw earlier, here it is right here, call for presenters. This is a tab where you can read, we're asking presenters if they will give us permission to send out their information and allow for artists to contact them. Not lock them into a date, but just have artists approach them and consider whether or not there might be a good fit here. And to those of you in the room that are presenters, if you haven't signed up for this and you're interested, I would like you to. And then I would also hope that you could start spreading the word. And the database right now is only about 200 organizations strong. We've got a long way to go. So that's that. I wanted also to have you have some time because I segmented the content so that, Orrin, you might want to say something to what Lisa said, et cetera. So do any of you, before I open the room for questions, would you like to speak to anything that you've heard amongst all of us? And yeah, okay, because we can take a few minutes for that, and then I'll open the room for Q&A.
I just wanted to see, are there any presenters here from the South? Raise your hand. 1, 2. From, I would say, Tennessee to...
Well, specifically,
Texas?
yeah, I mean...
The South Arts region. I guess I'm kind
here you go, hold up. I'm going to just show you one thing really fast for you all. Who are we? Right down here. These are not, you don't guess at these states. They're very, they're very finite because they're connected to the state arts agencies. So here you go. These are all the contacts that you need. And I'm involved with this one. That's my name. And you see where it is. We're talking about Alabama all the way through Tennessee. And because we are the country that we are, I am also representing U.S. territories such as Guam. And while U.S. Virgin Islands are represented, here they are, by Mid-Atlantic. So this is pretty formal stuff. This is connected to the NEA and these metrics.
So two.
Go ahead.
So there were two hands from that. How many people from those regions?
Yeah.
2.
We have 2 from the South here.
3.
3.
And I guess 4 if you count me. But I think that that's something that I'd really like to address, just who's in the room, who's at the table for these conversations, because a lot of what I've been doing, not just as an agent, but just as an artist advocate in my region, is to get presenters that I talk to, artists that are in my realm, to make them aware of this opportunity. And I would just call on the people that are in this room to try to share the information, especially to decentralize the touring. Because as an agent, yeah, sure, it's easy to get gigs in DC, New York, LA, Seattle. As a presenter, it's incredibly hard to make things work in the South. And so this is a conversation that I think needs to be tied into this grant with artists, with presenters, and just if I could call on you to help to get the word out.
Definitely, absolutely. And with probably 4 cycles towards tours, there are other pieces to this program that you can look into about residencies and information building, but we have for tours at least 3 more cycles through 2022 that we have budgeted for. And we just hope with each phase that we get stronger and wiser and more helpful. We still have a little time. Does someone else want to say something about anything that you heard on this table?
Well, I mean, there was one phrase that caught my ear when, like, the organization that shifted its focus. I think, like, that's one of the things that this grant can help do, is give these organizations a reason not to shift their focus away from jazz.
Go ahead.
It's just what we all want.
We're flexible. One of our panelists needs to leave for various. I don't have to get specific. She has to use the restroom. So we're flexible. I'm not going to hold her captive up here. But she'll be back. Do you think we're going to have a lot of questions in this room? Can I just see who might be interested in? Let me just get a number of hands who might be interested in questions. That's not a lot. We only have 5 or 6.
That's about 10.
Okay. Well, let's keep what?
No,
There's no time.
I was just talking.
No, let's get started with it, and we'll just see how it goes. So this microphone, you're going to have to stand up and go to this microphone in the center, and this is what's going to happen. I want you to identify yourself and where you're from. Just go ahead and pick up that mic. And I don't think, yeah, there you go. Identify yourself, where you're from. Question. You can get in a row, go back rather than clustered. Get in a row. And
putting the mic to the side.
I do want to keep this clipped, so I will cut into you if you're going too long. Okay, and I'd like you to do a question more than a statement. I know sometimes that's hard. So I will shape what I'm hearing if it's not helpful. Okay? Thank you.
My name's Angie Wells. I'm a jazz vocalist. I live in Los Angeles. I do have representation. I am definitely emerging. Nobody knows who I am yet, but soon they will. And I guess I've never written a grant before. Is it very hard? I mean,
This grant is not. I mean, we specifically have drop-down menus so that you can just tap something and not have to write a lot about it. We have a quick narrative. If one of the criteria is for you to say, why is this tour really going to have impact, that's where you want to really put some of your time and get really honest about what this is doing for you. Be genuine and let us read what's happening for you. We know, that's why we also said it's artist-centric. We want it to be streamlined and easier. And we did have a form that Lisa referenced in the first cycle. We have removed it because we just thought it was too complicated. We're not talking about matching grants anymore. We want presenters to contribute, but we're just not talking about a match. And we're not talking about words like in kind or per diem. It's just not in there. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the panel, all the panelists. My name's Ralph Peterson. I'm in the business. And I want to simply encourage a little elaboration on the concept of what is actually emerging. Because is the artist emerging or is the audience emerging? Is the geography emerging more so than the artist? If you've only been to Florida 3 times, but you're playing with the Bad Plus, and at the Winter Jazz Fest, that doesn't mean that the artist is emerging. That means that Florida is emerging for Orrin Evans. So can you talk a little bit more about it?
I'm going to put you on the spot, Orrin. I mean, that question is a little unusual, Ralph, I have to say. Yeah, the terrain is emerging, and we say we're looking at emerging mid-career. We actually talk about a spectrum, along a spectrum of career development. Where do you define yourself? It's on you to define yourself. And I think we've talked enough about how in the United States, there are perceptions, and you can't measure perceptions. You can't qualify perceptions. The reality is that we have a dearth of touring. I've asked so many artists, do you tour? I mean, Jaimie has something going on here, but this is new. This is a different segment of this ecosystem, you know? So, I mean, it might not be new to her, but it might be very new to some of you out there. And so, and again, some of it's connected to aesthetic. You know, some networks are better for certain aesthetics. Ralph, you and I will talk more. I mean, I'll try to answer your question, but that's a tough one, and I think Orrin referenced a lot of it. Okay.
That's the point of it. It is a very tough question to address because. Ralph, I appreciate how you put it because it is really we're talking about the audience and are they just woke?
These
you
tours,
know what I mean?
Yeah, the tours are made up of a variety of audiences, big ears, pretty informed, committed audience for experimental work. In Mobile, Alabama, an organization called the Mystic Order of the Jazz Obsessed. It's called Mojo. I don't know a lot about that organization, but I have a hunch that it's a very small, related to community, and it's more about community wanting to support a space and, you know, a scene. And it might be like, I just trust whatever comes into this room, you know? And yeah, absolutely the audiences are more emerging. The most successful applications are gonna show audiences that are new to jazz and spaces that are new to jazz in combination with clubs and presenters, you know? And that's what we want to see when we look at the whole pool.
New to jazz feels maybe like not the right way to put that though, because, you know, jazz has had a really rich history in a lot of these places in the past, you know? And so I think it's like getting, you know, current artists into these areas.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Next question.
Hello, my name is Dave Sharp. I'm the artistic director of the Blue Llama Jazz Club. Thank you, panel. You guys are crushing it up there. Give them a big hand.
And thank you, Blue Llama, because you are definitely a venue within these tours.
Yeah, well, we've done, I think, 3 shows with artists who got the grant. And one thing that came up at the APAP conference that you did a couple days ago was that a lot of artists were expressing how helpful it was to allow them to feel less stress on the road, also to focus more on playing music where they're not worrying about money as much. And I think that's a super important element of this that, you know, hats off to this idea of, you know, making it easier to get to that musical expression versus worrying about how to pay for the hotel or the tank of gas.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's super important.
Definitely.
So my question is how much of the grant goes toward building the audience in the form of marketing and promotion where you can reach out to those people ahead of time using some of this cash and promote your group, promote your current lineup of your group, promote your new record.
Sure, yeah,
and
let
get
me-
that in the hands of like radio and Facebook and all the funky places people listen to this stuff now.
Yeah. Actually, Jaimie and Lisa can speak to that because you were involved in what, you know, this is a complicated program. I didn't want to go into every little piece of it, but we offer almost a stipend. If you, as an artist, would like to receive up to $2,500 as an artist to do your own PR or to hire somebody to do your tour coordination or to get paid for your time for having done it, again, we know $2,500 might not really cover all that, but it helps. And we were able to, basically last round, the grants were capped at $12,500, and then people could add $25,000 if they wanted that possibility. This round, if your expenses and, you know, if you do all the math and it's still below $12,500, we'll let you ask for that $25,000 again. But we also want, if you don't want to use the money for that and you just want to put it toward your tour flat, like you need more on the road, we're letting you do that too.
But just out of, do they have to do a report at the end? Because honestly, I think you should. That's one of the things we don't do as artists. You should use that stipend to promote your tour. Why wouldn't you? So if you put it back on the bandstand, it doesn't. There should be I think that's a great idea that stipend is available, but there should be, just out of curiosity, is there like you use that money for that? Because that you should, in my opinion. But
definitely.
artists, like, you just took money out of my pocket.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to just, Jaimie or Lisa, speak to how you use that money, or is it important for the group to hear that? I mean, it's
important.
It's very important.
Okay, so
Yeah, I mean, take that money and I think it's flexible funding for hiring a social media someone to run your social media for that tour, hiring somebody to do the booking. Like, it's not very, if you do 10% if you get a $15,000 grant, you pay someone to do the booking at $1,500 for your tour, you still have another $1,000 to put into marketing, to take somebody else out maybe to do some like iPhone videoing of your gigs. So I would really strongly recommend using that money. It's going to help you in the long run, for sure.
yeah, that's great. Exactly. Do you want to talk about how you're using yours, Jaimie? Well,
Don't want to talk about how I'm using my money. I guess one thing that I will say is that, like hiring somebody to run PR on a tour, that's like a different thing, kind of. And a lot of times, like, that money kind of just goes into the ether. Having somebody run PR on a record is a little bit more concrete. So I'm trying to find the right people to work with.
Yeah.
I toyed around with the idea of having a tour manager, an additional person on the road with us, but it adds a lot of expenses. That's another hotel room,
and yet the grant can go toward that.
Yeah, the grant can go towards that, but
I'm just saying, it's all
in New York City, like, a tour manager is like $300 a day.
right.
In Chicago, it's a little different. So, but I'm still trying to work on. I know part of that money is going towards the van rental. That's already earmarked, and then I'm talking to people in Chicago just about helping, maybe even if not riding with us, tour coordinating as far as booking hotel rooms, making sure everything's on lock, getting a tour booked together.
That's good. That's plenty. Just to tag on to what you asked, though, Dave, this is all what the artist is doing. With the grant, we're covering the fee. We're subsidizing the fee. So, presenter, can you please do marketing? Can you do some advance work?
I didn't want to say that, but
and
if the clubs could make the posters, that's just another thing to do. And it's not going to get done if you're the artist.
They got
working.
that printer, they have the printer right in the
They got that
office,
printer.
so just print it out. Then we don't have to steal paper at Kinko's.
So
I got a ream of that still. I'm not stealing.
So again, I'm just trying to communicate more with presenters, even though this grant goes to the artist, and I have to rely also on the artist having to communicate with the presenter too. So just trying to streamline. Hello.
Hi.
What would you like to ask?
By the way, I'll be your tour manager for $300 a day.
No, no.
That was the hotel. That was the hotel.
See, I'm not paying that. I don't know if you got that.
I'm an artist. I'm a singer. I play with a duo, a guitarist, up to symphonies. And my name is Jenna Mamina, and I've been doing this a long time, but I always feel like I'm emerging in any new place I play at. I feel like it's a CD release party because they've never heard me before. I do have some questions. So you said it's between 3 and 5, only 3 and 5, because I go out and do
3 and 5 what?
3 and 6.
3 and 6, that's it? Because we'll do next week I'm going out and doing 9 dates in 5 days.
Right. So we're covering up 3 to 6. That's it right now.
And for 3 to 6, we could actually make $15,000.
You can.
That's crazy. I was trying to be funny. I couldn't be funny, so I swore instead.
Well, let me be clear. Again, it's not like, we're going to give you $15,000. You have to show you're a duo, right? Is that what you said, a duo?
A duo, yes.
Well, already you're not going to be that expensive because you're not an octet. Okay, so let's start there.
But we're expensive.
Okay.
We're worth it.
All right, so again, the grant.
We're really good.
You are good. You should apply. Okay, so the I'm serious, but and we'll talk. But the idea here is that you're going to say, this is what I really think I am worth in this market. You know, I am not worth $50. I'm not worth a door date.
And we do those gigs. We do $50.
I am worth, yes, you do. Plenty of artists do.
One way to, can I?
Yeah, please.
One way to
I don't
like
wanna-
tweak the system is that if you do a $50, like if you have a $50 guarantee, but the room can hold 100, and you're gonna say that you're gonna get X amount if you fill the room, just write that you're gonna fill the room. Like, we're filling the room tonight, like, so like if it's $15 tickets, $100 capacity, that's $1,500 you can write the grant for based on the door alone.
No.
No? You can't? No.
See, I'm not an
so
accountant.
if you have a guarantee, no, listen, if you have a guarantee for $400 or something, $200, and then you get 70% of the door.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I see
And
what
there's
you're
a
going.
capacity of 100.
Yes.
That's 1,500 at times 0.7. That is what you can write for. In addition to, if they feed you, they can write that off. Like, that's $100 towards your food. If they give you hotel rooms, they can write that off at,
Does
or
the
write that
Yeah.
on.
So I apologize, because you're absolutely right. I just didn't quite understand you. Because, we're asking the presenter to evaluate, estimate what is the door going to be, or what's the break-even point, or what have you. The presenter puts a value of what they can pay. It doesn't have to be, I don't want it to be pure fiction, but obviously sometimes...
Their PA rental, if they have a backline for you, all of those things can be added.
Or if we have to rent our own PA and we're on the road and we carry it with us and we have a rental car.
That's an
But
eligible expense.
Does
Your
the,
backline.
Does the tour have to be booked before we apply?
Yes.
It has to have
Not to contract. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jaimie.
Yeah,
answer. Go-
not to contract.
I have like 10 more questions, but I'll leave. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll talk more. Hey, Reggie.
Hi. Yeah, Reggie Marshall. I'm a booking agent and manager, Mars Jazz Booking Agency. I'm just curious about the panel who decides who gets the money. How many people are on it? How are they selected? Is it the same from year to year? Do the people who are applying know who
Yeah.
they are?
Okay, it's going to change every cycle depending on what we need. But this year, and it's public, it's all in the press release. So, I can tell you that Regina Carter was on the panel as an artist, but I can also tell you that Aurora Nealand was on the panel, who is from New Orleans, and she is a more experimental accordionist and vocalist. You know Regina Carter. I don't think I need to explain to you who she is. But we also needed a club. So Amrel Brown, who was the proprietor at Bohemian Caverns, he was on the panel. Kim, is she in the room? Kim, who is, Vespertine works at Portland, represented the West. Kim Gumbel, who is artist manager, and she's in Portland. So notice I'm just, we don't want the money to go toward how much the panel costs. We want it to be fair, but we want to keep the money in the grants. So we had a Zoom meeting, and I do a lot of work to prep the panel in advance. And I'm also, I'm missing Eugene Uman, who is the director of the Vermont Jazz Center. You're clicking, that's nice. And Greg Carroll, who is a consultant in Kansas City. It's also really important that the panel is diverse. And again, I'm interested in having panelists that it's a majority Black panel, or at least 50. It's Black voices on panels has not always happened, and so it's an important thing with this program right now. And we're going to change. Yes, I want to do things differently next time, and you'll hear about why later. Okay.
Yes, hi. My name is Gabriella Trinkina, and I'm a vocalist. And I was curious about this seminar because I heard that rural, that was the thing that stuck in my head. We moved a few years ago out of the city, and I think of myself, if I wanted to catch the audience of the rural people around us, I would probably have to put an ad in Fox News or something, it is, I wouldn't want to go to a venue and then nobody is there, because when people hear the name jazz, that they don't even curious to go out and and try it. And also, as it is grant money, as an artist, we are always, at least as vocalists, asked to fill the room. And I would also not want to feel good about standing in front of nobody and performing, you know.
Can you tell me what your question? What is your question? Just how to build lock in the
I
rural
was
piece?
wondering how to grow an audience in a rural area where you know that the people are most likely are not going to jump up and down when they hear the word jazz. You know.
Don't put
Don't
it on
use the word jazz.
Fox News. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I don't even understand where that shit came from. I'm sorry. Like, that. Don't do that. Like, that's where we start right.
Well,
Sorry.
I know where I wouldn't do it, but I'm trying to figure out how.
okay, so the point of this program is to help identify those areas, and it's not on you to build the audience before the grant. It's on you to research the areas, create relationships with organizations. And the tour does not have to be, each date has to be rural. It's just that we have a focus on trying to build rural audiences. We don't even, what is rural? It's 50,000 and below. Is it, there are many ways to define this, and there are no absolutes and perfection in a first round. But you don't have to build the rural audience. We would like you to communicate with presenters in advance to think about ways to make this happen or strategize. Maybe you're going to do some work with the presenter in advance to try to help make this happen. But this is, it requires a lot of work, and it's in progress, and it's a major goal of this program, but it's not all the only goal.
So it's also not all up to the performer to create the audience.
Not at all. No. I mean, it's on the presenter to work very hard to build the audience, and for that, there is greater awareness about being a part of a movement to try to solve some of these problems, to work with artists, to work with other presenters, and ultimately to receive some fee subsidy if you are a very supported organization that just really can't afford to pay artists, okay? So can we go to the next question? And let me just see where we are. Yeah, we're actually over time, so I'll let you talk really quickly, Svetlana. And I just want to recognize that there are other grantees in the room. I think I saw Monica Herzig from She Rose, there she is. And who else have I seen? Well, you know who you are. I'm glad that you are here to be a part of this. And go ahead, Svetlana, what would you like to ask?
All right, my name is Svetlana. I'm a band leader and a vocalist here in New York, and I'm a non-sore loser. I applied for the grant. I didn't get it. And there was this magic to when I sent letter to presenters to ask them for a gig to build a tour before application. I got a lot of people to respond, which was much more than when I just write to people. And I know it's not just about the money part, because even though I don't have the grant, I have 2 tours, because one tour got split into 2, beginning of the month, end of the month, in the summer in California. My question is, and it's kind of a more general booking question, how do I take this magic, like those little invisible wings that I had when I was writing to people with this, might and inspiration that I may have the grant, and just apply it to when I write to people about booking other tours with or without the grant? Like how, I think he has an idea.
Good. Do you want to say something?
For me, you have no other choice.
100% correct.
Once you realize that that's a personal thing. Mm-hmm. Once you realize you have no other choice. I've been in this business a long time, and I've watched 1,000 major labels turn me down. But I have no other choice but to play music and to feed my family. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to send that letter, even though I didn't get this grant, I'm going to send that letter again. and I'm gonna find a way to come down there, even if, you know, I call my aunt and borrow the money, whatever. I'm gonna find a way to present my band there when you realize you have no other choice. I'm not wearing a Home Depot, uniform. And no offense to Home Depot. I love Home Depot. I go get all my shit there. But the point is, I'm not wearing a Home Depot uniform.
Right.
Once you realize that, that's a very personal thing that you have to look in the mirror and say, regardless of whether I get this grant, regardless of whether this record label signs me, regardless of whether this club books me, regardless of any of that, I have no choice. This is what I was born to do.
Well, that's a great way.
Thank you.
I believe that's a great way to end this panel on Lincoln Center. Aren't we over time?
One more.
Couple more. Two more. They went home.
Is Lincoln Center here? Do I hear a voice? Do I have a couple minutes? No. Ooh, okay. So that was a great way to close, Orrin. And thank you guys so much. What a great panel. Thank you.
Thank you.